Monday, after a weekend of football, gentlemen.
Good morning. How are y'all?
How are you?
You know, I'm very depressed.
Why is that?
I'll reveal that in just a little while, but it's
okay.
all right. I'm here because I promised I would be here. This is a day that I wish I could have had off, I will confess.
How about them Cowboys? That's all I got to say.
Them boys. Coming up on the show today, Jay Cutler versus Aaron Rodgers. The bad man returns. That's bad with 2 A's. After he told everyone to just relax. Plus, is Geno Smith frustrated? Well, it seems to be the case, as are Jets fans. They're frustrated as well. What happens when the two collide on the sidelines? We'll tell you about it. But first, let's talk about them boys, shall we? The last time the Cowboys met the Saints set an NFL record of 40 first downs. This time, the Saints had 20 and a loss. Cowboys with a 38-17 win in Jerry's world. The recipe seems simple. Give DeMarco the ball. Murray had 24 carries for 149 yards. When DeMarco Murray has 20 carries, the Cowboys are 14-1. Romo explains.
Wow. We're going to be a little tough to deal with just because of our ability to run the football. And, you know, we have some guys on the outside who are pretty good players as well. And you know, we're just a complete unit, I think. From my time in the NFL, this is as complete a unit as I've been a part of. Each week you're going to do some new things, but at the same token, you just got to run, catch, and throw. And if you do those things well, you'll have a chance.
You're talking about them boys, Stephen A. How surprised were you by the win? Okay.
Oh, man. This is a hard day, Skip Bayless. I'm not going to front. I just can't front. I'm shell-shocked by what I'm seeing from the Dallas Cowboys. We all know that I'm a Dallas Cowboy hater, and I say that in the most innocuous of ways because obviously as individuals I know how talented they are. You know, people take it all personal. I just can't stand the star on the helmet, the star, you know, at midfield and, you know, all the glitz and glamour. That's the Cowboys, America's team. But I know as individuals they can play. But in all seriousness, I have to sit up here and say to you, I'm shell-shocked by what I'm seeing from the Dallas Cowboys. I don't know if it's a product of the Saints just being that bad. Forget about by the way, just forget about the Saints. I'm done with them. I'm done with them. I'm done with them. In my Super Bowl pick, forget them. Forget the Saints, okay? I'm done with them. But getting back to the Cowboys, I know DeMarco Murray can run the football. But I just thought that the Cowboys would be the perpetual idiots that they could be and avoid the running game. I never dreamed in my wildest dreams that they would give this brother the ball 24 times. I never saw it coming. They continue to give the guy the ball over 20 times a game. That they'd be smart enough to protect Tony Romo for himself the way that they have. I didn't see this stuff coming. I didn't see it coming. I knew the defense was going to be awful. I didn't see Selvey playing the way that he played. Bruce Carter's been playing well. Skadrick being back was effective. I'm just looking at these guys and I'm like, what is going on here? What is going on? I could not believe what I was witnessing. And I just said to myself, Saints gonna come back. Dallas, even when Dallas was up 24-7, I was sitting back laughing. I said, it's set up. This is beautiful. Oh, yes, it's going to be set up for an epic collapse. You understand? I even tweeted about it. And then the Dallas Cowboys went and scored again. I said, oh, damn. I mean, this is just bad. This is really, really bad. In the end, bottom line is simple. The Dallas Cowboys rushed for 190 yards. Tony Romo passed for 262 yards and didn't throw an interception and threw 3 touchdowns. They spread the offense. I'm just looking at it and I'm saying to myself, this Dallas Cowboys team, I must confess, is a team to be reckoned with. No, I am not picking them to win the NFC East.
To be reckoned with?
To be reckoned with. I am not saying that they're going to win the NFC East. I'm still rolling with the Eagles. I am not deviating from that. But clearly, I have to give props to owner, GM, wannabe coach Jerry Jones, personnel, and Rod Marinelli. Look, man, if there was an award for defensive coordinator of the year, he might be it. I mean, the way he's got these boys playing, I got to give a lot of props, a lot of respect. He seems to clearly be an upgrade from Rob Ryan, even though he wasn't a direct successor to Rob Ryan. I'm just looking at it and I'm saying, everywhere I turn, Dallas, their eyes are on the football. They're paying attention. They appear more disciplined. They're playing their zone areas when they have to. They're switching man to man. They're getting physical, Skip. The Dallas Cowboys, a bunch of pretty boys for years, are getting physical and playing like Rough Riders. I cannot believe what I am seeing. I am shocked. And I must confess to you, I sit here today a humbled soul. Eating some crow. Willing to man up and recognize.
Cowboys win the Super Bowl.
No. I have completely underestimated the Dallas Cowboys. I must sit here and confess on this day, I have to give props where props is due, which makes me sick to my stomach, having no desire to be here sitting across from you. And not to mention, we know that you're going to find a reason and an excuse to bring them up all week long, if for no other reason, just to torture me. But I have to take it. I'm quite shocked, I must admit.
Are you willing to admit they're a legitimate contender in the NFC?
No, not yet.
No?
I have to see more.
After all that soliloquy, you're not even ready to go that far?
They're a legitimate contender in the NFC East, but I have to wait and see if you're going to just give them the whole conference. But they are much better than I expected. I have to sit here and give the Dallas Cowboys props and just take my comeuppance. I must admit. I must admit.
Okay.
It's sickening.
It is
really
still too early for me to gloat. But I think you're saying that so far this year, your picks have been accidents waiting to happen.
That's right.
Am I right about that?
That's right. Because
you have perpetually called my Cowboys accidents waiting to happen. You're not going to call them that anymore. Am I right about that?
Well, let's not
Would you make that promise?
No, I'm not going to make that promise. It's a long season. Only a quarter of the season has gone by. I'm not going to do that. But I am the accident waiting to happen because I've dogged the Cowboys and I praised the Saints. And those two things right there are just egregious errors on my part that makes me ashamed of myself.
I have expected today you would come in wearing a bag over your head. Remember when the Saints were the Aints when they were no good?
You know what?
You could have worn the bag over your head and
I
written
must admit
Aints.
to you, if you had a bag,
right?
If you had a bag with the Aints on it, I would have worn it.
Because you do have them going to the Super Bowl.
No, I'm done with the Saints. I'm done with them.
Okay. Is it fair to say that, at least for today, you won't call for me to be drug tested if I say, once again, the Dallas Cowboys are going to win the NFC East?
No, I cannot say that.
You cannot. Thank you very much for that. Which is why I'm going to say something that I have not said in 5 years on this show, sitting in this chair. The Dallas Cowboys are a pretty good football team that is actually winning the right way and a trustable way. I'm going so far as to use the word trust and Cowboys in the same sentence, Stephen A. Smith, because they are leading the National Football League in rushing because DeMarco Murray is leading the NFL in rushing with 133.5 yards per game. And people laughed before the year started when I said this offensive line could be the best in the NFL.
I don't recall anybody laughing.
A lot of people laughed at me.
The offensive line is legit. The offensive line is legit. Everybody knew that.
Hey, and that kid they drafted, Zach Martin, again, that could have been Johnny Manziel, but I got to give Jerry props today.
He knows what he's doing.
He looks like he belongs, and he looks like he could not just be a very good player, but a long-time Pro Bowl offensive lineman, and all of a sudden they are demolishing whoever's across the line of scrimmage from them. Bless you. Don't sneeze at what I'm saying.
No, I wasn't. I literally have allergies.
And now which brings us to a Dallas Cowboy defense that many thought could be historically bad. And at least when I made my preseason pick, I said I think they're a little underrated. I was going to give them underrated. Rod Marinelli is way underrated as their coordinator. And I say, Rob Ryan, good riddance. I don't miss you a bit now. And that brings us to a quarterback that has been ridiculed, sometimes by me, on this show for years and years and years. Dare I say that Tony Romo is playing solid, steady, dependable quarterback. I never thought these words are coming out of my mouth. They just went down on tape on national television. Solid, steady, dependable Tony Romo, who since that disaster of a first half that he played against the San Francisco 49ers in the opener has thrown 7 touchdowns, only 1 interception. That Tony Romo?
QBR at 80.
Woo! Last night, the QBR was way up at, 95 or 96 last night? 96 last night. That was pretty good on a scale of 0 to 100.
Yep.
So, Stephen A., do you realize how satisfying it was for this football team to right the wrong, what I called the biggest humiliation in Dallas Cowboys history about a year ago?
Yep.
It was actually early November when they played on a Sunday night at New Orleans. They lost 49-17 and allowed an NFL record 40 first downs. Last night, they cut it in half. Drew Brees and company had 20 first downs. I'd say that is highly, highly impressive for that unit. And last night, back to your point, you thought that they were set up perfectly to be the accident waiting to happen. And I must admit, I'm going to admit it right here, I thought it was going to get, I tweeted this, it's going to get a little hairy and a little scary because you don't let Drew Brees get in that hurry up and start getting a hot hand, which it looked like he was, right? They got the ball back, the Saints did, down only 14 with 8 minutes to go, and I thought the Dallas defense again showed big backbone. They clamped down. That Sterling Moore made a play deep on Jimmy Graham. Brees did overthrow Kenny Stills on the first play, but it winds up 4th and long, and what happened? Your coach, Sean Payton, called a fake punt. That was the turning point in the game.
Horrible call.
It was a horrible call.
Horrible
but I
call.
loved it. Thank you, Sean. Thank you very much.
If you're going to sit there and put a punt, if you're going to put somebody in a position to throw the football, just give it to Drew Brees. How about doing that? That's his level of expertise.
That's what Chris Collinsworth said.
Unbelievable. I was just disgusted by it, no doubt. But all of these guys, Carter, Church, Wilcox, McClain, all of those, these boys are balling on the defensive side of the ball. There's some rough riders. They're going after cats. And I got to give credit where credit is due. And here's the thing. Dallas basically beat Rob Ryan at his own game. They were the aggressors. They were the more physical team. There were times when Rob Ryan was blitzing, sending the kitchen sink. Yeah. There were other times when he wasn't even rushing, wasn't doing anything. You're like, who is this defense? Rob Ryan is looking very, very bad thus far. Let's just call it what it is. He's looking very, very bad. And I don't blame Sean Payton for cutting his eyes at Rob Ryan, rolling his eyes. It's bad enough you got a bad hairdo. It's bad enough you're completely all slovenly and everything else, which was what I thought was costing you a head coaching job before now. But after last night, I must acknowledge to you that no, forget all of that. Your abilities as a defensive coordinator are being brought into question. I cannot believe how awful the New Orleans Saints looks on defense. They look horrible. And if I'm Sean Payton, I'm very disgusted, even though the offense wasn't too much better last night anyway, okay? Because Graham, you expected more from him. Poston, you expected more from him. And they just missed Darren Sproles. Let's just call it what it is. They have no replacement for Darren Sproles. There's no innovative. There's nothing surprising about their offense. They're very predictable in how they come at you, and as a result, New Orleans is relatively limited. Somehow, some way, you've got to believe that they'll right the ship. But I will say this about your Dallas Cowboys. We will see over the next 5 weeks, Skip Bayless, whether or not they go who the Dallas Cowboys are. Because over the next 5 weeks, you got to remember, they got Houston, they got Seattle, they got Arizona, the Giants, and the Redskins, I believe, in the next 5 weeks.
I got 4 out of 5 wins.
I'm saying to you,
4 out of 5 wins.
I'm saying to you that, to me, the Dallas Cowboys could easily go 2-3 in that span.
Are you predicting that?
I'm not predicting it yet, but I'm saying to you they could easily go 2-3.
I'm right out on a limb. I said 4 out of 5.
I'm leaning more towards 3-2 because I think they'll beat Houston next week. But if Houston was to find a way to beat them, I believe they'll lose to Arizona and Seattle.
Right,
I think they'll lose those 2 games. That's what I believe. So we'll see. But, again, I'm going to hold out until that time. But at this moment, on this day, I must confess, I am a fair-minded individual, and I have to concede that the Dallas Cowboys are looking far, far better than I thought.
Quick question. They go into the postseason? Can you say that, yes or no?
No, I can't say that because they would have to win. So you're
saying no?
No, I'm saying no for the time being because I don't believe a wild card is going to come out of the NFC East, and I'm picking Philadelphia to win the NFC East.
History's on Cowboys' side. 63% of teams that are 3-1 are definitely going to the postseason.
Hard to watch, man.
Hard to watch. We want you guys to weigh in on this discussion. Go to Twitter. Send us your takes on the Cowboys as well as your reactions to Skip and Stephen A. using the hashtag Them Boys Are Back. That's DEM. Them Boys Are Back. Let's talk about the 49ers and the Eagles, shall we? His pick. These two teams have been defined by their second halves. Eagles for their comebacks and the 49ers for their inability to score. But on Sunday, the Eagles had 0 offensive points. All of their 21 points came from defense and special teams. But the 49ers also struggled offensively. In the end, they edge out the Eagles for the win. Chip Kelly on the loss.
We got whooped up front. You know, we're not very good up front right now. We've got a lot of guys banged up, and that's not an excuse. That's just the reality of it. We couldn't get anything going up front, so and it was very tough sledding for anybody in there. It wasn't like if you put Deron in there, that Deron's running up and down the field, and you know it's on LaShawn. It isn't. I mean, running the football is a cooperative deal. It's got to be everybody, and you know we just didn't get it done.
And also after the game, LaShawn McCoy was asked about his 17-yard performance on Sunday. Couple that with just 22 yards against the Redskins. He said he's embarrassed. So let's look at both teams. Stephen A., what did you learn about them?
Well, what I learned about the Philadelphia Eagles, Skip, is that they go where their offensive line takes them. The Eagles' defense actually played relatively decent yesterday. There were some things that they did wrong, but they kept them in the game because their offense simply couldn't do anything. You had Sproles with his 82-yard punt return. You had the interception by my brother Malcolm Jenkins, okay? The bottom line
Wait,
is...
he's your brother?
No, the frat brother.
Oh, he's a frat brother. Oh,
the point that I'm trying to make to you is this.
Okay. I thought that was breaking news.
I'm just letting you know. But the point is that when you look at Malcolm Jenkins and you look at Darren Sproles, you have to notice that the Eagles' offense didn't do but so much. Well, why is that? What happened is that their offensive line is struggling. You've got Moak, you've got Tobin, you've got Kelly. They struggled miserably. Harriman wasn't satisfied with his performance. Jason Peters had a penalty late. You know that they're struggling on their offensive line. They couldn't protect Nick Foles to his liking. They couldn't create enough gaps for LaShawn McCoy to run the football. And on top of it all, I got to call out LaShawn McCoy, Shady McCoy, just a little bit. He's not breaking tackles. Yep. You know what I'm saying? His yards after being touched, bottom line is he's not doing what he normally customarily is known to do. So as a result of it, what are you supposed to do? I look at Jeremy Maclin. I think that he's big time, and he's been performing like that. That was a sensational catch on the right sideline when he tipped it to himself and kept it in bounds and caught the football. Riley Cooper, you got to catch that pass in the end zone. It's just too close for coming. You got to make that catch. If you in the NFL, you got to make that catch. But still in all, I've got a lot of faith in the Eagles wideouts. I got a lot of faith in their offense, assuming that the offensive line does its job. Yep. Because they were getting manhandled by Justin Smith and the crew, that really threw the Eagles off. See, the Eagles defense bends but doesn't break. But when your offense doesn't give you anything, what are you going to do? Where are you going to go? The answer is nowhere. And that's exactly what the Eagles, the offense, did yesterday. Because their offense, if their offense had produced one touchdown, they win the football game. They didn't do that, and as a result, they lost, and that's what it comes down to. One in the second half anyway. So I'm just saying that really Chip Kelly's offense is going to go, like most offenses, it's going to go where the offensive line takes you.
Well, and right now, to be fair to the Eagles, they're down 3 key starters in that offensive line. Jason Kelsey's gone to center. Evan Mathis is a Pro Bowl guard gone. Who are you texting? Was that Malcolm?
One of the brothers.
Oh.
One of the brothers?
They were like, thanks for the shout out?
That's right. That's right. Just letting them know.
Omega Sci-Fi.
Yeah.
Omega Sci-Fi.
Okay.
Q.
They're down a Pro Bowl guard in Evan Mathis, and the right tackle, Lane Johnson, University of Oklahoma, still hasn't played because he's been suspended for 4 games. So I'm going to give him that break today. But I'm also going to tell you, both these teams I watched yesterday are flawed. They're both flawed, and I think they will continue to be flawed. I'm not sold on either quarterback at this point, either quarterback. And if possible, Kaepernick, bear with me on this, played a little less poorly yesterday than Foles did. Foles was pretty bad yesterday. Now, again, he wasn't protected, so I got to give him, and he doesn't move around very well.
And one interception, he got popped when he threw that football.
He got popped a lot, and he got up a lot. Which that kid's got some guts. He's got some backbone to him. But his QBR, scale 0 to 100, was 22 for this game. And Kaepernick's wasn't a whole lot better at 46, which is below average. So what happened in this game? the Eagles' offensive line just got annihilated routinely at the point of attack, so that overcame Kaepernick's pick six to your brother, right? And they get a punt block for a touchdown, and they let Sproles escape for an 82-yard touchdown, and that's the football game. Then they can't score in the second half because they couldn't win the line of scrimmage. So I felt sorry for LaShawn McCoy because he's a bounce-out runner. You know, he has to bounce it inside out and get on the edge and get around the edge with his speed. DeMarco does that occasionally and does it very well, but he never could get loose yesterday. So do you realize they ran 31 of their 56 plays and didn't get more than a yard on that play? For 31 times, that's 55% of your plays. You couldn't get more than a yard on it? Well, San Francisco's defense, as we've been seeing the last few weeks, is not that good. Because haven't they fallen apart in the second halves of those games?
That's true.
You saw what Jay Cutler did to that defense.
Yeah, but you got to remember that since the helmet-to-helmet hit he suffered against Emerson for the Redskins, LaShawn McCoy has rushed 27 times for 29 yards.
Okay.
Now, I'm just saying to you that if you are the quality back that Shady McCoy is, those numbers are pathetic, and he knows that. And so, yes, the offensive line needs to do a better job. But, I mean, the worst offensive line, when you have his skill set and his elusivity skills, the fact is that you cannot have 27 carries for 29 yards. I mean, that's just pathetic. So McCoy's got to step up. He's got to get on his aim game. He's got to elevate his game to some degree. Also, keep in mind that the Eagles also got beat up on the defensive line. Okay, in their front seven, Frank Gore had 119 yards rushing on 24 carries, averaged 5 yards a carry. You know Kaepernick's going to do his thing. And early on, you got to remember, the Eagles came into this game without a sack since the 3 they recorded in the season opener against Jacksonville, Skip. But they were all over Kaepernick early on yesterday afternoon. He was scrambling practically on every possession because they were moving him out of the pocket. They were getting him out of his comfort zone, but he was finding a way to make plays with his legs. In the end, the Eagles, when you consider some of the troubles that San Francisco had, the Eagles defense kept them in this game, and the offense repeatedly, time and time again, couldn't get it done. And then a goal line stand, the last 2 plays, you're going to throw passes, incomplete passes from the 1-yard line? I mean, you got to give me something if you're Chip Kelly. You got to figure out something. The 49ers don't have Aldon Smith. They don't have Navarro Bowman.
Nope.
You understand? I mean, how
they don't have a lot of guys.
They don't have a lot of guys.
Yeah.
And somehow Dorsey, some way, they still found a way to stop this Eagles team. That's a problem.
Okay, so bottom line to me, the Eagles I saw yesterday are vulnerable, which is why I'm sticking with Dallas to win the East.
And I'm saying to you, no matter how vulnerable they are, they're still better than the Dallas Cowboys, although I will concede that the Dallas Cowboys are not nearly as awful as I thought they would be. And Jerry Jones, we know he's been starving for a little bit of credit since Jimmy Johnson left. He's got some of it now. There's talent on this squad. He has a lot to do with accumulating it and the personnel he's put in place. Rod Marinelli's doing a hell of a job. He truly, truly is. And the offensive play calling is not bad. Linehan and those boys are getting the ball into the hands of DeMarco Murray. And remember, we never questioned that, Skip. We always knew that the Cowboys would be successful if Murray got the ball. We just said the Dallas Cowboys are not going to be smart enough to get him the ball because they're too much of a hype machine.
Our producers told me to tell you the numbers back you up, Stephen A. Last year, Shady McCoy through the first 4 games, eighth in the NFL in rushing. Right now, he's 42nd.
I'm going to roll with the Bears. I don't like the fact that Aaron Rodgers, the bad man that he is telling everybody to relax. And I think this will be the wake-up call for the Packers.
Rodgers looks to his left. Bullets the end zone. Leaping grab. Touchdown, Jordy Nelson. Goodness. Rodgers gets the snap. He throws the right side of the end zone. Cobb, touchdown! A great throw and a tumbling catch in the right corner of the end zone by Randall Cobb.
I just wanted to remind everybody that it's a long season, and at some point we're going to get this thing figured out.
Packers rebound after an embarrassing loss to the Lions, as promised. That one, Jay Cutler saying, your boy, Aaron Rodgers saying relax. So, Stephen A., what were you thinking picking Jay Cutler in the Bears?
Two things. First of all, what I was thinking was that Aaron Rodgers hasn't had much help outside of Jordy Nelson because Randall Cobb and the other receivers weren't getting open, and Eddie Lacy and James Starks and those boys wasn't running the football effectively. The other thing that I was thinking is that Chicago, maybe indeed they were legit because, again, we were talking about Jay Cutler just the same way Skip mentioned Tony Romo just a little while ago. The consistency, the fact that he wasn't beating himself, that he was playing within himself, that he seemed a bit more disciplined, a bit more poised than we had customarily grown to seeing him be in the past. But sure enough, what entered my mind was, bow, Steve, how stupid can you be? How do you sit there and place your faith in Jay Cutler? What the hell was I thinking? That's what I was thinking. What the hell was I thinking, Skip Bayless? Jay Cutler, why am I sitting there thinking about this man? I'm like, look. This dude is checking at the line of scrimmage, changing plays, talking about Green Bay was in the 3-deep zone when they weren't, misfiring all over the place. I'm just looking at Jay Cutler, and I'm like, a big game like this, how did Skip Bayless fool me again? He just did it again. The magician that Skip Bayless is in his duplicitous ways. He sat there and he hoodwinked me. He set me up. Vanderbilt, Commodores, or whatever. I said, maybe he might be right this week. I got caught up in the sauce, okay? Shame on me. This is what happened. Because the second I got caught up thinking that Jay Cutler was reputable, thinking and forgetting and engaging or employing selective amnesia, Skip Bayless, where I'm sitting there and I'm looking, I forget the fact that he's in his 9th year and he's got just one playoff victory. I'm forgetting the fact that even with Brandon Marshall and Alshon Jeffrey and Martellus Bennett and Matt Forte, the man still can't get it done. I forgot he's Jay Cutler. And that's what happened to me. I got so caught up in Aaron Rodgers and my concern because the bad man that he is was just bad up until this point. I got caught up in that I forgot who he was playing against. I'm just thinking about Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay. One thinking about the opponent, totally forgot. You know what? It is Chicago. It is Jay Cutler. It's right. Everybody's expecting the Chicago Bears to step up and produce. I forgot, Skip Bayless, that we were talking about Jay Cutler here. Silly me. Shame on me. I'd slap myself harder, but I don't want some of my powder to fall off my face. That's what I would do, Skip Bayless, because it's just a...
You got powder on your face?
Your skin looks great.
Yeah,
I wouldn't have known.
No, stop lying.
We wouldn't have known.
All three of us in the makeup room. Stop it, all right? I do not look this good on my own.
I do not look this good.
I need all the help that I can get. Look, I know I ain't the most attractive brother in the world. I'm just smooth. But the point that I'm trying to make to you is that in the end, what it comes down to, Skip Bayless, is that you hoodwinked me. You got me to believe for 1 week that Jay Cutler actually wasn't going to be an accident waiting to happen Midwest. It's all your fault, but you got me. I'll give it to you.
Wait. Who did I pick to win this game?
That's not the point.
Oh,
that's not the point.
That's not the point.
No, because
I picked the bad man that is Aaron Rodgers.
Haven't you picked against the Cowboys, hoping they would win?
I don't pick the game. I don't pick the game.
Stop it.
I don't pick. I haven't picked one since the opener.
Really?
I picked Dallas to win the opener, and they lost. I said, I'm out. But I'm standing by my prediction they will win the NFC East.
You do it because you don't want to jinx them.
Yeah.
Just like that's what you said.
Not going on here.
You set me up. Go ahead.
You made a fatal mistake.
Yes, I did.
You should have read my column that ran last week. I wrote this. I wrote the heck out of it.
He told you.
I said I'm off the Cutler bandwagon. I finally saw the light, or maybe I saw the dark with Jay Cutler.
Darkness is spreading.
Darkness has descended on Jay Cutler. Look, I knew after the opener that Jay Cutler is never, ever to be trusted. Remember, they lost to Buffalo at home in the opener because Jay Cutler threw one of the more idiotic interceptions he's ever thrown in the fourth quarter. So I finally said, I give up. I have supported him for 10 years on this show since he was a junior at my alma mater, Vanderbilt, mostly because he went to Vanderbilt. I've never met Jay Cutler. I don't know him, and a lot of times, from what I see, I don't like the guy because he's arrogant, he's aloof, he's condescending, he's above it all. And you know what I figured out?
And he can't play that good.
That it's an act. He's trying to cover up his own insecurity. I keep defending his physical toughness on this show because, listen, this guy is tough. He will take shots and jump right back up. I am now What I doubt seriously is his mental toughness. Because, listen, what happened at San Francisco, that was all about Colin Kaepernick coming completely apart. Remember, Kaepernick turned into Jay Cutler in the second half. 3 interceptions and a lost fumble. It looked just like Cutler all over again. Cutler threw 4 short touchdown passes, and all of a sudden he had his first signature win. It was by default. So yesterday I'm thinking, the Packers are just better than the Bears. Aaron Rodgers is going to do what Aaron Rodgers usually does against the Bears, and so is Jay Cutler against the Packers. What is he now, like 1-8 against them? And he's awful.
Deontay, 1-8 or 1-9?
1-9, I think it is. But he's just been terrible against that team. They have his number because he knows in his head, after he plays a good first half and throws a couple of sweet balls and everybody says, wow, then he starts throwing whoa passes or oh, whoa, or Bear fans passes. Because Stephen A., in the third quarter alone, he should have had 3 picks. They couldn't hang on to one of them, but he had 2. That's the ball game. He threw the game away in the third quarter. And Aaron Rodgers said, thank you very much. I will cash those in. Boom, boom. And the game was over in the third quarter.
Here's the thing about Jay Cutler. You see that rifle arm that this guy has? Physically speaking, he has all the talent in the world.
Well, we've said that for 10 years.
But here's the thing. Never does he come up more short than when he is opposed against an elite quarterback. Every time
second half,
he is called upon to show up against somebody that is elite, he shows that he just doesn't measure
and remember
up.
the faithful. Remember the NFC Championship game against the bad man at Soldier Field.
Yes,
and he winds up. He can't go in the second half. And I defended him because he was finally diagnosed as having a sprained medial collateral. That can be a pretty serious injury that keeps you out 4 to 6 weeks.
Right.
But you know what? If you are that guy. If you are a Pro Bowl All-Star quarterback,
you bring it.
Okay?
You bring it, Skip. I'm so proud of you. Say it.
You know what he was? He was afraid of the moment. He was afraid. I'm not going out there because he'd already thrown an interception to help them fall behind in the first half, and he said, I don't want to face the music out there, man, because I know I'm going to throw some more.
You agree with
I've been saying this for years. I've been saying it for years. It took Skip years to
acknowledge your collar.
I wrote it.
I
wrote it for years.
All right.
I've been saying it for
years. I tried to help you out.
He tried to help you, and you've been trying to help him.
Listen, I was trying to help you.
You were trying to help you.
Oh, yeah. I was trying to help you.
You know what?
Help me help you. That's what I was trying to do.
I'm just trying to help
all these years. And then I said, all right, I'm stubborn. He's so stubborn. I'm going to roll with him for this 1 week. And that was my mistake.
Okay, and here's the analogy I made in my column. Remember, I know you're not a big golf guy, but remember early Phil Mickelson when he was trying to break through and win a major, and it took years. He was 34 years of age, 33 when he won his first major, the Masters. For years, everybody gave him a pass because he gambled on every big shot that he ever hit in a big tournament, and he'd say, that's just me. I can't help myself. Why didn't you lay up, Phil? Because I just go for broke every time because I was born that way. Well, that's Jay Cutler. See, he's hiding behind going for broke. Oh, I'm Brett Favre Jr., man. I'm just going to throw the hell out of it. I'm going to try this and I'm going to try that. I can't help myself. Yeah, you can. You're afraid to win against a good quarterback. That's what happens.
No, that's not accurate. It's not being afraid to win.
Yeah, he is.
It's being afraid to be in the position where you get to decide whether you win or lose. See, everybody want to win. Nobody's afraid of winning, Skip. Some people are afraid to do what it takes to win because they don't want to be in that bubble. They don't want to be under that pressure. That's Jay Cutler. And he proves it every time, and I should have known better. I apologize to that bad man that he is, Aaron Rodgers. Showed up, baby. That's what I'm talking about.
I must add that my school, Vanderbilt, which won the national championship in baseball.
Yesterday,
just
football season, but go ahead.
Sonny Gray, did you see what Sonny Gray did yesterday for the Oakland A's?
Sensational.
Complete game shutout.
Sensational.
9-inning complete game.
Well, you know what? He needed to do that the way the Oakland A's
saved their bacon. I know.
Let me tell you something right now. Melvin would have been fired today.
And David Price had a big game for Detroit.
No, he showed up. We're going to talk about some baseball later on this week.
I'm just saying, it's still baseball season.
So, Stephen A., if you had to guess Cutler's QBR in the second half on Sunday, what would it be?
If I had to guess his QBR, 18.
No, lower.
Guess.
5.1.
Damn.
0.1.
Oh, Lord.
Jets are frustrated. The fans are frustrated, and so is Geno Smith. The second-year quarterback had to apologize after using the F-bomb toward a fan after the 24-17 loss to the Lions. Smith struggled with 209 yards and 1 touchdown pass to Decker, but he also had a pick and a loss and fumble. He had 7 turnovers in 4 games. He's had 7 turnovers in 4 games, enough for fans in the stadium to chant, "We want Vic."
First of all, I want to apologize. If any kid saw me, saying any negative remarks walking off the field, I kind of let my temper get the best of me in that situation, and it's a part of my learning process. You got to get better with that. Got to let that stuff roll off my back. But today, I didn't do well with that.
He has to let it roll off his back, Stephen A. Your reaction?
First of all, Geno Smith apologized. He knows that he shouldn't be spewing any F-bombs. As tempting as it is to retaliate to idiots and obnoxious individuals, you simply can't do that when you're in Geno Smith's position. The fact that he came out, apologized without being prompted, I give him a lot of credit for that, because the Geno Smith that I know is that kind of stand-up guy. He didn't have to be somebody that was prodded by Jets PR and those guys to do what he did, which was apologize. So I'm done with that. That's cool. And I think that people in New York, as much as I respect my colleagues and contemporaries, as you well know, I think people in New York calling for Geno Smith to be benched because of that is ridiculous. Now, if it's because of how he has played, all right, having committed, throwing 5 interceptions, committing 7 turnovers on the season thus far, got a QBR right now that's less than what it was last year. It was 35 last year. His QBR is 27. It's just bad right now. There's just no other way to slice it. You want to look at Geno Smith for that, that's fine, but not because the man cussed at a fan. That kind of stuff happens. People need to get over it. With that being said, I will say this, Skip Bayless. I have not given up on Geno Smith, the quarterback in the NFL. But I have given up on Geno Smith, the quarterback for the Jets, for this season. I do believe that for this season, it would do Geno Smith well to be on the bench and for Michael Vick to step up in there. And that's not to say that Michael Vick, we should expect something great. Michael Vick's last 3 seasons as a quarterback, he hasn't completed 60% of his passes once. His QBR was in the 40s. He's never had a QBR of over 68 in his career. But at the same time, Michael Vick being a veteran, being a dual threat because of his willingness to run the football, I think those kind of things can galvanize the Jets. I don't blame them for standing by Geno Smith. I don't believe Geno Smith is something that is somebody that should be given up on. Skip Bayless, I think that he has the talent. I think that he has the potential. I've seen him make throws. His decision making is the problem. And I think sometimes that requires for you to sit back and just let the game come to you, which I think in New York at this particular juncture, he is incapable of doing. I think the course that he's going on right now, he's in danger of becoming the next Mark Sanchez, because I think Mark Sanchez could still quarterback in this game. I think Mark Sanchez will still be a starting quarterback in this game again after this season when he becomes a free agent in March. The problem is that he stayed in New York too long and he was just bombarded. And I think that's what's on the verge of happening to Geno Smith now, because the interception, the fumble yesterday against the Lions, 2 turnovers pivotal in the 4th quarter. Those are the kind of things that are indicative and reminiscent of what the New York crowd grew all too accustomed to seeing in the Mark Sanchez era. And as a result, they're not going to give him a chance to sort of like go through those growing pains. I think you put Michael Vick in now, and even though Rex has said that he's not going to do it, I think you put Michael Vick in soon and you let him finish this year.
You just jolted me when you put Geno in the same sentence with Mark Sanchez, because that's an insult to Mark Sanchez. Mark Sanchez did some pretty
his first
good
2
things.
years.
Well, he got him to the AFC Championship
game. His first 2 years, but that's not what I was talking about. I was talking about the last part. Yes, in the end. That's what I'm talking about.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm also with you. I do appreciate his apology. It seemed heartfelt. I think he knew he really, really screwed that one up.
Right.
And I think he was asking for a little forgiveness there. Like, I was caught up in the moment. Okay, I'm going to give him
it
that.
Happens.
Okay, I'm good.
Just don't let it happen again.
I said before the year, Michael Vick starts, they're a contender. Geno starts, they're not a contender. And I'm going to bring up again why I didn't love Geno before the draft. We talked about it before. You remember his last year at West Virginia. They start out 5-0, and he is the front runner for the Heisman Trophy. Remember this? After a big win at Texas. And then what happened? One fateful Saturday, they go out to Texas Tech in Lubbock, Texas, and the wind was howling, and Geno got blown off the field. They lost 49 to 19.
Yeah.
And they end up losing 5 in a row and 6 of their last 8, including the bowl game. And what did we talk about fairly regularly?
Yes. His demeanor on those
bad body language, hanging your head, seeming to blame teammates, pointing fingers. It was a bad look for him. His whole demeanor sank, even when he trot out to the huddle as they were losing games. Wasn't the same guy. So you have to say, okay, Geno, are you made of the right stuff? Are you resilient enough to make it in pro football? I'm with you on as they talk about the Trent Dilfer arm talent. He's got arm talent. We've seen that throw he made that got canceled the other day at Green Bay. That was a big-time throw.
Yes, it was.
By the timeout.
Early, yeah.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, is he built to last in the NFL psychologically, emotionally, backbone-wise? I'm not sure about that. I'm not sold.
What I would say in response to that, Skip, is that I think it's important to recognize that when you're in New York, that can't be the barometer of what you may be psychologically as an NFL player, because New York throws some stuff at you that most other places don't go. New York, Philly, they throw some stuff at you that most other places
do?
That's right.
The fans.
I'm just talking about the fan base. In terms of what you deal with psychologically, that factors into the equation when you are a young quarterback. Because when you are young and you put expectations on yourself, or the franchise puts expectations on you, it's a problem. And I want to point this out. Rex Ryan is going to take some heat too. Skip Bayless, I want to be on the record here on national television to tell you Rex Ryan doesn't deserve this. The New York Jets are in every game. And the fact is that John Idzik, the general manager for the New York Giants, has given Rex Ryan little to work with. How in God's name do you not buffer the cornerback position when you lost Darrelle Revis a couple of years ago, when you let go of Antonio Cromartie this upcoming season, when you leave it in the hands of a second-year player who got benched 3 times before he even emerged as Rookie of the Month last December in Milliner, and that's your number 1 corner. You got, considering the corners that were out there this year, you didn't go out there in the offseason and get Rex Ryan anything to work with. Antonio Allen got burned yesterday by Ross. Megatron barely played, and Matthew Stafford was still picking them apart. That's just embarrassing. And you know that Rex is a tad bit shy, maybe, of a genius on the defensive side of the ball. And
I'll give you that.
If you have the personnel, Rex Ryan can make it happen. So to me, the fact that the Jets made some errors defensively the way that they did shows me that was about personnel, not about scheme, which puts it on Idzik, not on Rex Ryan. And as a result, those kind of things also affect how your offense fares, because you're putting them behind the 8 ball because you can't rescue them the way you're accustomed to rescuing them. And I think that also has a lot to do with the lack of progress on the part of Geno Smith. Not to mention, Morningwig is just working with Geno Smith from last year. He has a long-standing relationship with Michael Vick, which is another reason Michael Vick should be in there.
I'm with you on Rex. He is proving to me to be the best defensive coach in football. And you know how much I respect and admire Bill Belichick, but I think Rex is proving to be a little better because he's doing more with less to me. Yet, I ask you, who hired the general manager?
Woody Johnson.
Thank you. So why don't you lay this on Woody's doorstep?
Well, I'm just saying, the owner cuts the check.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
You can't fire him. So the point that I'm trying to make to you is that, okay, well, then you fire his choice. And to me, when I look at Rex Ryan and I look at Idzik, listen, the jury's still out on Idzik because we don't know how Milner's going to do. He is responsible for drafting Sheldon Richardson. I mean, he's made some good picks now. So all I'm saying is, but at the cornerback position, he has clearly dropped the ball, and because of it, the Jets are struggling, and I don't think Rex should get any heat based on how the Jets have played.
Did Mike Tannenbaum drop the ball?
Well, he was just awful.
He was awful, okay. And Woody hired him, and he hired Idzik to replace him.
You can't fire the owner.
I'm just saying, but in the end, don't forget, the ball starts rolling from the top from the owner every time.
I do understand that. You want me to chide Woody Johnson the way I chide Jerry Jones? It's not quite as fun, but I could do it. But all I'm saying to you is that in the end, they ain't going anywhere. So I got to look at Idzik. Woody Johnson did not tell Idzik. Idzik had $20 million in cap space and didn't use it.
And it
That's
sounds like
inexcusable.
Idzik has final say on who plays quarterback.
On the
Sounds
We
like
Want Vic chants, Michael Vick said if he were in and he made a mistake, they'd probably do the same thing to him.
Well, Michael Vick
so of course
is
he was being the
consummate
right
professional.
guy and the professional saying the right things.
If
Geno
there's
Smith's teammates are defending.
Michael Vick cannot afford to say the wrong things.
And he's saying all the right things, although the gentleman think it's time for him to start.
We're going to be a little tough to deal with just because of our ability to run the football. And, you know, we have some guys on the outside who are pretty good players as well. And you know, we're just a complete unit, I think. From my time in the NFL, this is as complete a unit as I've been a part of.
The Saints were favored to win the game by 3, but the Cowboys were impressive on offense, so the Saints lost on defense. In the win, DeMarco Murray joined some elite company. He becomes the 4th player in NFL history to begin a season with 4 games of at least 100 rush yards and a rush touchdown. Look at that, some very nice company. Jim Brown, O.J. Simpson, Emmitt Smith, Curtis Martin. Joining us now, elite company as well, Eric Allen, our NFL analyst. I texted you earlier, I had to be honest. I said, who'd you pick? I thought you picked the Cowboys, but you did not.
Put me on blast like that.
You did not. You picked the Saints, but you're drinking the Kool-Aid now. Explain, sir, how, in fact, that was your choice. What did we see?
Again, you go back to last year's thumping of the Saints and Cowboys, and I'm figuring there's just no way the Cowboys are going to be able to make up that much ground. You think Drew Brees, you think automatically Scott Linehan and the group are going to try and throw the football. They're going to disregard everything we've been talking about for the last 3 weeks, that the Dallas Cowboys are a better football team when they run the football. I thought they were going to throw all that out the window because, you know, they're the Cowboys and they don't do things normal. But, again, Drew Brees and his crew let me down. I didn't think they were potent enough. The running attack is not there. Defensively, they're struggling. And the Cowboys did exactly what I didn't think they were going to do. They ran the football. And it all starts with that group up front. Doug, Free, Martin, all those guys. Not as good, Skip, not as good as the 90s group, but they are getting close to having that kind of ability to be able to come off that great running game.
The early 90s?
You know, the group that I played.
Hey, that was the greatest offensive line I ever saw in all my years.
They were phenomenal. They were powerful. They were athletic. That's what I'm saying. They're not as good.
No.
But they're getting to that point to be able to come off that play action, hit the tight end if they want to, Dez if they want to, Williams if they want to. I mean, it looks like this football team is set.
Are they legitimate contenders?
They, without a doubt, particularly in the East, because Washington is a mess right now. The Giants are up and down. The Eagles, we saw their offensive line from last year, they were completely healthy. Now, all of them are banged up. So right now, when you look at that division, Dallas Cowboys are the football team to beat. Rod Marinelli, at defensive coordinator, doing an outstanding job. Better be careful.
You just said the team to beat?
In the East. In the East. With the injuries to the offensive line of the Eagles. They are the team to beat right now.
Did I not say that?
You say that?
Listen, that's fair because of the point that he made in terms of the Eagles having problems at the offensive line, even though they get back Lane Johnson, I believe. They're getting him back.
He's a 4-game suspension.
That's right. They're about to get him back. That's going to help him with Peters and Tobin and those boys. I think they'll be better, but it remains to be seen, whereas the Dallas Cowboys offensive line is obviously very, very legit. But caution, gentlemen, couple of things. Number one, maybe the Saints just stink a hell of a lot more than we thought they did. That's number one. Number one, without Darren Sproles, their offense ain't the same. And Rob Ryan is getting exposed right now defensively. Because I mean, they just don't look like the same defense unless there's a plethora of injuries I'm not aware of. Number two, though, Skip Bayless, I brought up the schedule. Houston, Seattle, the Giants and the Redskins, 2 divisional games. They're going to lose one of them, I believe. I don't think they're going to win both. Plus, you got Arizona. Those are their next 5 games. Biggest point that none of y'all brought up. You didn't bring it up earlier. You didn't bring it up now. As I look at this number, this DeMarco Murray, averaging 5.4 yards a carry, you know, it's very impressive.
Yes.
Very nice, isn't it? One slight problem. The man has 99 carries already.
he's on pace for 400 carries. This is the injury-prone DeMarco Murray.
Oh, so now you're predicting injury?
No, I'm simply saying.
I could wish that upon the man.
I'm not wishing that upon because I'm not you with your evil self.
That's all you got. That's all you got today. He's going to get
your Austin Powers to the spiral shag me. Oh, stop it. Here's the deal, Skip Bayless. You have to remember, we often sit there and talk about 300 carries in the season is relatively dangerous for a running back. How we not going to bring up the fact that he's on pace for 400 carries? The fact is the Dallas Cowboys, in order to save him, may have to probably scale back.
Wait. Wait a minute.
I got Randall, I got Dunbar in there, but they're not DeMarco Murray.
Oh,
they're not DeMarco Murray.
They're pretty good.
Listen, Randall had 9 carries thus far this season. Stop it. All right, I know
every time he touches the ball, something good happens.
I understand that. Yeah, when he ain't the man, but Emmitt Smith taught us a long time ago. A little bit different when you the focal point. You see what I'm saying? So all I'm trying to say to you is this, Skip Bayless. DeMarco Murray being on pace for 400 carries this year is a dangerous predicament for the Cowboys to be in because come second half of the season, although their schedule scales back a little bit, bottom line is you look at them and you say, chances are they ain't going to run the football that much. They're going to throw it a hell of a lot more, which plays right into everybody's hands because we want Tony Romo to throw the football. We definitely want that. So we definitely want that.
You still think they're an accident waiting to happen then?
You know what? Hey, on this day,
the Cheshire smile.
On this day, I have to concede. I have to give the Dallas Cowboys their respect and their props because they showed up and they are balling. They are 3-1. And by the way, the one game that they lost, they outplayed the San Francisco 49ers in the second half.
14-0.
So let's be clear. Let's be clear. For 3.5, even though they got outplayed in the first half by St. Louis,
well,
basically for 3.5
Tony
games,
Romo interception.
The 3.5 games, the Dallas Cowboys have been the better team on the field. I'm just saying. That's because DeMarco Murray is running the football. That will have to scale back a little bit. Am I making a valid point?
You are. And again, what that's going to do with DeMarco Murray, as we all know, is it's not so much about after, 120 carries. If I'm a coordinator, what am I doing, Skip? I'm bringing that safety where? Down in the what? Box. Okay, that's the whole advantage of having that great running game. So now, I'm going to go one-on-one with Dez, and you saw what happened in the game. You're going one-on-one. Dez, that was a simple.
Nobody should go one-on-one with Dez.
But you
go
have
one-on-one with. No, you don't.
The running
go one-on-one with Terrence Williams.
The running game.
Go on one-on-one with Witten. Go one-on-one with Terrence Williams. Do not go one-on-one with Dez.
Is a walking first down. He just has a first down flag on his back.
When it's money time, throw it to Jason Witten.
Yep.
He made a big third down conversion late in the game.
But the running game, and again, let's go to the Chargers, for instance. The Chargers, same way. Their running game is terrible. They're averaging under 2 yards.
Ryan Matthews is just not there.
Right.
Not there.
But the threat of the running game helps all those guys. Eddie Roy, it's the same thing with the Cowboys. That's what's going to happen. The threat of the running game, and he is not being touched. So, again, injury-wise, if you're not being touched until you're in the secondary, that's another asset and key for the Cowboys.
Let me see the Dallas Cowboys against a real defense, please.
A real defense?
I know St. Louis. Don't give me the Saints. I'm done with this. I'm done with New Orleans. I'm done with them. I'm done with them. I'm done.
They was going to the Super Bowl.
I know the St. Louis. I know. I'm done with them. I have sold out. I have sold out. I'm all out. I'm throwing my chips. I'm done with the Saints. I'm done with them. But St. Louis had a little. San Francisco.
Okay.
I know that. Go ahead.
Since you are now done with your Super Bowl pick, is that what you're saying?
I'm done with them.
I have a present for you.
Oh, no. Don't do it.
I have a present.
No.
You're not.
Give it to me. Give it to me, Skip. I'll do it. I'll do it. Give it to me. Go ahead.
Don't put that on. Don't put that. No. Don't put that on your face.
I'm done with them.
Don't do it.
I'm done with them.
Pull it out a little bit so we can see the
You're
end.
not doing it right. You got to crinkle.
Pull it sideways a little bit.
Here. You ripped it. You ripped it. I was trying to say, here we go.
There we go. Now you got it.
Go ahead.
You know what? That's a good look for you. That's a good look.
Go ahead.
You look smooth.
I'm done.
Yeah, remember he said he looks smooth. He didn't need it. This is why the ladies love him. This is why he looks so good to the ladies.
I'm done with them. I
don't usually engage in this kind of stuff.
Right.
I'm not trying to be all extra, but that's how disgusted I am with the Saints. I'm done with them.
Eric,
Go
he's
ahead.
not trying to be extra.
Oh,
He wants
no.
you to finish your conversation.
Exactly.
I'm keeping this on for the rest of this segment.
No, take it off. Take it off. You've been humiliated enough. It's okay. Thank you for doing that.
Yes.
You did deserve that.
I did deserve it.
Even though I still think they will win their division because I can't figure out who else will win that division. Is anybody else going to win the South?
Well, you know what? Listen, Atlanta lost yesterday to Minnesota. Teddy Bridgewater, we saw what he did. Cam Newton and Carolina, they don't look good. And don't give me Tampa Bay. That's a subject about the Steelers, not even about them. I would tell you right now, if I had to pick somebody, it would be Atlanta.
Because outside, they're a different team
it would be
inside,
Atlanta.
and Bridgewater did play well on Sunday.
Okay, back to my Dallas Cowboys. The reason I do still love them to win the NFC East is I do think they match up well with your ex-team, the Eagles. They played the heck out of them last year with a historically bad defense. They went to Philly and won 17-3. Again, that was the most shocking result of the whole NFL season to me. And then at home in that final game to win the division, Nick Foles is going up against the backup. You know, Romo's out, right?
Yep.
And what happened? Kyle Orton finally turned back into Kyle Orton at the end of the game, right? Remember that?
Yep.
Okay, so to me, I'm using words about this Cowboy team I never thought that would spill out of my mouth. Solid, steady, dependable, trustworthy on defense and at quarterback. I never thought I would say that. Something has come over Tony Romo. The running game has come over Tony Romo. But even if it starts to diminish, even if, God forbid, he does get hurt, Tony Romo is playing with a maturity I haven't ever seen before because he knows he's going to be protected by what could be the best offensive line in football and because of the weapons. He said last night, he said, we have Cole Beasley, their little slot receiver.
Yeah.
He's got some Wes Welker in him. He's that quick and that good.
Yep.
And he said, we can't even get him the football because I've got favorable matchups everywhere. And I've got Jason Witten. They got several tight ends he can throw to. But my point is, there are weapons everywhere, and the defense under Rod Marinelli is playing absurdly hard. By the fourth quarter, the Saints receivers were getting tired of catching the ball and getting smacked.
Yeah.
Because they were getting drilled by people from all sides. Okay, I haven't seen that in a long, long time with the Dallas Cowboys.
You're right. You're right. And I have a lot of respect for Rod being able to get those guys to rally to the ball. And that's the difference in this Cowboys team.
It is.
Never a one-on-one tackle. Love the way the linebackers are playing.
Wait
they
a
are
minute.
flowing to the ball.
They are tackling a lot better.
Yes.
A lot better. He's got them tackling. He's got them being more disciplined. They're keeping their eyes on the quarterback. They're anticipating better than I've seen them do in years. Dallas's defense is actually respectable.
It really is.
I mean,
it
it's
really
respectable. If I was Fred Sanford, I'd be like, Elizabeth, I'm coming to join you. I can't believe this. I just cannot believe it.
They passed the eye
I cannot
test.
believe it. Oh,
Rest of the front
stop
seven.
it. No, stop. Don't sit there.
He's saying that he knew all along. He's saying he knew all along. He's not.
What he said was, at the beginning, their defense was going to stink, but their offense was so lethal, that they were winning the division by default. Now, all of a sudden, we talk about the defense. He's like this.
No, I said be underrated.
Oh, stop, please.
Play the tape.
Please.
How would I pick them to win the division if I didn't think they could play any defense?
Because you said the defense.
I said Rod Marinelli would change the culture.
You said they were suspect, and you said their offense would carry them. You said nothing positive about their defense.
Too.
Nothing.
And by the way, Bruce Carter's got a quad. It could be ripped. I don't know what's going to happen.
I hope not.
Could be. And Mo Claiborne, you can say it's who cares, like good riddance, but it's not good riddance.
It's not good riddance.
He tore his ACL. It sounds
not
like.
good.
Oh, I don't wish that on him. I don't wish that.
After the game, Jerry Jones said of one DeMarco Murray, he's extremely inspirational. He's our player.
Fantasy football's back and DraftKings.com isn't messing around. DraftKings.com is America's favorite one-week fantasy football site where you could win enormous cash prizes every week. Hurry and get free entry into the Millionaire Maker event where first place takes home $1 million. Head to DraftKings.com now and enter promo code FOCUS to play free to become a millionaire. DraftKings.com. Bigger events, bigger winnings, bigger millionaires. Enter FOCUS for free entry now at DraftKings.com. That's DraftKings.com.
The Eagles had their first loss of the season yesterday, and the 49ers came out with their first win in their last 5 home games against the Eagles. LaShawn McCoy admitted to being embarrassed after only 17 yards, 10 carries. Eric Allen's still hanging out with us. Chip Kelly said, quote, we got whooped up front yesterday. Their offensive line looks nothing like it did last season when it was considered one of the best. So it's a team of two halves. They usually can come back in the second half. We don't know who the real Eagles are. Can you help us out?
Yeah, I'll help you out a little bit. First, before we talk about the offense, defensively, 218 yards yesterday in rushing. Frank Gore had 119 on 24 carries. That's not been the case for this San Francisco 49ers football team up to this point. So they saw something in Billy Davis's defense that allowed them to really attack this defense and keep themselves on the football field, further putting the Eagles in a hole on offense, having to play catch-up. And right now, Eagles, catch-up-wise, with that offensive line banged up we just talked about last segment, everyone up there is hurt or suspended. Or something's going on.
Except for the left tackle.
Except for the left tackle. And he went out for a series or so yesterday also.
But he came back. And
he came out. Yeah. He came back. So, again, you have a defense that's broken down, up front, really getting throttled and thrashed. On the back end, giving a big plays. And then offensively, they just don't look the same without that consistent offensive line play. So Foles is under pressure. You don't see the spurts from McCoy. I know Sproles is doing an outstanding job on special teams. But right now, Philadelphia looks like a shell of what it looked like with that healthy offensive line, with all those weapons. I understand that Chip wanted that big receiver in the slot and didn't want that high flyer, but right now it just doesn't seem the top on the defense stays intact because they don't have that Deshaun Jackson.
Oh,
they
so you
don't
said
have
they're
that
missing
guy.
him now.
Well, they miss a player like that.
Yeah, okay.
Everyone on their squad, receiver-wise, is over 200 pounds. They don't have a 4-3 guy. They don't have that flyer who's going to, at times, just take off and just beat everyone deep. You're able to drop back and take a shot at times. Right now, the shots are the tight ends on the corner routes. And right now, it's just not happening because you don't have enough protection to be able to allow Foles to make that completion. So they are struggling right now. Even though they are 3-1, this is a team that is definitely struggling and not in the kind of groove or rhythm that they need to be to compete with the Dallas Cowboys, who they're going to face in a couple weeks.
Yep.
I look at the Philadelphia Eagles. Here's what I'm liking about them. We know they got problems at the offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
We know that their offense was suspect yesterday, obviously. Second interception that Foles threw near the end of the game didn't really count. It was the first interception. Yeah. He got hit. He got popped on that by Justin Smith. Ball came up short as he was targeting Jeremy Maclin. Him and Jeremy Maclin still are not in sync. They're not on the same page. Riley Cooper drops a touchdown pass.
He did. He should have. You're right. He has to make that play.
He has to play. LaShawn McCoy, we know, is better than what we're seeing. And they still have Sproles, who New Orleans is showing us how much they miss him. So when you look at the Eagles from that perspective, clearly yesterday was an aberration. Mm-hmm. They're better than that offensively, okay? Defensively, my man Malcolm Jenkins is the MVP of this defense.
Balling.
He is balling right now. Yeah. Jarvis Bird replaced him in New Orleans. This boy, Malcolm Jenkins, doing his thing, okay? Interception for a touchdown. He's balling right now. He's spearheading that defense. Fletcher's getting pressure on quarterbacks. We know Trent Cole's doing the same thing. The Eagles themselves, I'm seeing speed on their defense. I'm seeing aggression. I'm seeing them go after it, and I'm not seeing them. Now, they beat themselves a couple of times. You know, Kerry Williams, his holding penalty ultimately negated the sack, which is pivotal for them yesterday. But we watched these guys. Okay, Boykin went out, hamstring injury.
Very valuable.
You sat up there. Jenkins had to go to nickel. He came back, but Jenkins had to go to nickel, drop back in coverage.
Yep.
He still did his thing. The versatility that he's showing, if Boykin can give you what he's been giving you up until he got injured, with Kerry Williams playing the way he's capable of playing, even though he's been up and down the season, the pressure that Fletcher and Cole and those boys have been able to provide. I like what I'm seeing from this Philadelphia Eagles defense. I think people have slept on them to some degree. I think they can make some noise. Now, again, I understand you sleeping because, again, if I watch Kirk Cousins do to them what he did to them and then he stick up the joint against the Giants, I'd be snoring on the Philadelphia Eagles. But then I watched them yesterday with Kaepernick, with Bolden, with those boys. And I'm saying, you know what? The Eagles can get after it. They bend a lot, but they don't necessarily break.
Stephen A., did you hear what I just said? What? 218 yards rushing.
Listen, you can sit there and say what you want.
No, it's not what I want. It's what the stats say.
I get that. But what I'm saying to you is that as physical as the 49ers can play, when they're committed to the running game, as opposed to trying to rely too heavily on Colin Kaepernick to save the day, San Francisco could do that against a lot of teams outside of Seattle.
And who are they going to face?
Yes, they can.
Who are they going to face in their division who runs the ball like that?
What are you talking about?
The Dallas Cowboys run the ball like that.
You could say that. You could say that. I have to see it to
DeMarco will be injured by
that. He didn't want him injured.
By the way, I'm not wishing any harm on DeMarco. I'm just saying 400 carries is 400 carries.
Yeah. 218.
You could say that.
Oh, my Eagle.
Yesterday. That's because your offense wasn't doing anything and they had the ball too much.
Stephen A., do you remember the first half of Jacksonville at Philadelphia?
That's the
Chad Henne. Do you remember what Chad Henne did to this defense?
I remember the second half, too. I remember the second half, too, when they blanked them.
Okay, but Chad Henne lit them up. A game after game, you see at least a half in which you say, this defense is not very good. Can I at least say it's below average?
It's
I think that's
below
fair.
average, but I think they are playmakers. They can get after you, and I like what I saw them do in the second half against Jacksonville, and then follow that with what they did in the second half against Andrew Luck and the Colts. Because you know how I feel about Andrew Luck. Maybe I'm a bit biased because of that, because I'm partial to Andrew Luck.
Right. All right.
So this is a weird game that got played in San Francisco yesterday. It's a hard game to figure out because the Eagles' offense only had the football for 18 total minutes, and San Francisco had it for 42 minutes. So you say, how do you kind of put this into the right perspective? The offensive line is decimated. It's a mess right now. So I'm giving them a big break that way. But Nick Foles, when it was money time, he was not money, even though Riley Cooper should have caught that touchdown pass. But Nick Foles had he's a funky quarterback because he'll throw some really good ones and he'll throw some that you say, what were you thinking about that one? And I'm not sold on him as a star quarterback going forward. And I keep saying that, and he keeps having a good half and a really bad half and a bad half and a really good half. His QBR, again, scale of 0 to 100 yesterday was 22. So as I told you to start the show, it was as if Kaepernick played a little less poorly than Foles did and won the game with one throwback throw, which is how many times are you going to pull that play off, right? Against that one, I'm not sure I can hold that against the Eagle defense when Kaepernick rolls completely to his left, stops and flings it halfway across the field to Frank Gore, who runs it, like 55 yards for a touchdown. Okay, so I'm not sure what to make. I'm going to give the Eagles a pass on offense because of the line. But on defense, they are extremely, extremely torchable to me.
I wouldn't say extremely torchable. I think that a lot of times, again, if your offense is off the field that much and you have that much exposure to an opposing offense, you're the Eagles, definitely, you're going to get burned. But I still believe that this offense, when it's playing the way that it's supposed to be playing, the Eagles could bend but won't break, and they'll win more games than they will lose, including against the Cowboys.
Got to get turnovers.
Okay.
Got to get turnovers.
And sacks.
Yeah.
Which they spent 2 games not getting into
it.
No, at this point, it's going to be difficult.
Wait a minute. Are you saying the Cowboys are going to win the division?
He did say that in our segment.
With that offensive line?
He did say
that. With the Cowboys' offensive line like it is, the Eagles' offensive line like it is. The Cowboys.
And
I'll be here.
You invited on the show?
And I'll be here.
We won't have to look for you. You and Skip sitting up in there, and I'm telling y'all, it ain't going to happen. All right?
What did I say before the season started?
That's right.
Before the season started, I said
Cowboys.
Thank you.
I'm saying y'all going to be here together. Yeah. When I'm sitting there laughing. I'm eating it today.
You're not allowed back in Philly. You know that.
Oh, I'm about to call him right now.
You would tell him what?
Get some information.
He lives in San Diego.
Exactly.
It don't matter.
Right now.
You know?
Blood and guts, honestly, at the end of the day, it's about your heart and soul and putting it out there. Guys got hurt. D'Angelo got hurt. I mean, things are out there. You putting it out there. You see those linemen's jerseys, their pants. There's blood out there. It's going to be out there. So blood and guts is mean I'm going to go hard, and I'm going to play my butt off. And they knew that, and they understood that. They game planned for me. That film was a coaching session. They're going to be coaching. I'm 35 years old, and I ran around them boys like they was schoolyard kids.
All right, that was Steve Smith after blowing out his former team in Baltimore's win yesterday over Carolina. Smith had 7 catches, 139 yards, 2 touchdowns. Performance clearly spoke for itself, but you heard him. He ran around them like they were schoolyard kids. Stephen A. Smith, not to be confused with Steve Smith Sr., how do you feel about the way he handled himself yesterday?
I didn't have a problem with it. I thought that considering the investment that he made and the way he carried that Carolina Panthers organization for so many years, there were years they didn't even have a quarterback until Cam Newton arrived. They didn't give him much to work with. He was the face of that franchise. He brought it every week. I think that when you make the kind of investment that he made,
and then you're basically let go. You're basically considered a casualty. I mean, could you imagine what the Carolina Panthers would be right now if they had, you know, this kid that they have, this rookie that they have out of Florida State with Steve Smith, what they could have been? So he clearly felt like guys counted him out. The organization counted him out. They didn't believe in him any longer, that it was time to move in a different direction. Then you were hearing stuff about how he may not have been a good presence in the locker room.
Yeah.
These are the kind of things you don't do to somebody with his resume, with his accomplishments, with the fact that he never ever cheated you. You don't do that. And that's what they did to Steve Smith, so I didn't blame him. This kid is averaging, this guy, this man
35.
is averaging, at age 35, is averaging six catches a game, okay, and 17 yards a catch, over 400 yards receiving. He's on pace for, what is it, like a 1,600-yard season. Steve Smith is balling. And so for me, that is a lot. That has a lot to do with the success that the Baltimore Ravens are experiencing right now. And I thought he was relatively complimentary and expressed some love for his former teammates. But guys that he went out there and schooled, he was basically putting the Panthers on notice. You must have forgot who I am and what I bring to the table. That age is just a number. At age 35, look at what I bring to the table. And by the way, when he's running down the field, doesn't look like anybody could catch him.
You're right. And you're talking about Kelvin Benjamin, too, for the
That's right.
Panthers. That's what you're talking about from Florida State. Okay. Your take.
I really appreciated and respected the way Steve Smith, who yesterday deserved to be called Stephen A. Smith. He was that good yesterday, right?
Or I should be called Steve
Smith. Well,
you know,
we could arrange that.
As, you know, just as out of respect for him, because he's carrying the name with such honor and dignity.
He carried himself with dignity yesterday when he scored 2 touchdowns. It always works better to rub it in with class because he made it hurt even worse because he didn't gloat. He didn't chest pound. He didn't ball spin. He just dropped the football and went back to his sideline. And if you pound your chest and spin the ball, you're sending a message to your ex-teammates that, he misses us. You know, he misses being here. His heart is with the Carolina Panthers. And it may still be. But he stayed above that yesterday, and I appreciated the fact that he did it with such dignity on the field. Now, he couldn't restrain himself, even though he said all the right things, and he did drop the one little schoolyard shot at I'm running around like it's kids in the schoolyard. And just for the record, you know, he had the 161-yard touchdown, which was off a tip ball, so that's a little lucky.
But the way he caught it in stride,
that's fine.
I mean,
he was
there.
Like, that's somebody that keeps running and plays until the play is dead.
Okay,
and that's what you saw.
I'm good. But then the rest of the day, he had 6 catches for 78 yards. So I don't know if torch is the applicable word here, but he had a very good game, and he continues. He's just what the doctor, as in Dr. Ozzie, ordered for Joe Flacco this year.
Especially with Peter out.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, because here's a trustworthy veteran receiver, an Anquan Bolden type. He's a small receiver, obviously not the size.
You know what? He's short.
Yeah.
But he ain't small.
Stout.
I mean, he's stout. I wouldn't wonder. Did you see him? I mean, you see him shove off defenders. You don't want to get in a fight with Steve Smith.
No.
You don't want to do that.
Well,
do that.
some can attest that.
Yeah, so I would say there could be a few.
That's right.
But to me, from a distance, it appeared that one reason they wanted to pay him off, which they did, they gave him his $3 million, shipped him out, was to clear the decks for Cam to take over the football team. That he was such a presence, Steve Smith, in the locker room.
Yes.
He was so outspoken, and he brought such electricity. The second he walked through the door, everybody's looking, what's Steve Smith doing?
Yeah.
And it was time for Cam to take over, and I'm not seeing that happen just yet. But Cam doesn't play defense. Do you realize the superb Carolina defense that we raved about so much last year on this show? The last 2 games, they've given up 75 points and nearly 1,000 on 908 yards. 908 yards in 2 games. They've been outscored by 46 points. So I can't dump that on Cam. And it was like candy from babies yesterday for Steve Smith because they're getting run off the field on defense, let alone what Cam doesn't or doesn't do.
Right.
So this is right now just a bad football team.
Today you said torch isn't the right word. What would you say? He just won with class or helped win with class?
He did. With
as
dignity.
opposed to torch.
I like dignity.
Dignity.
Yeah, he did. And it worked.
I had no problem with him, even a little bit of rubbing it in that he did, because it wasn't so much about they can't play. It was about I'm greater than y'all have given me credit
Just
for.
a reminder. I tweeted that. Just a reminder to let y'all know it's okay to be great. All right. With dignity, Steve Smith, Sr., not A. The Bucs emerged with a huge comeback win yesterday against the Steelers. Mike Glennon threw a 5-yard touchdown to Vincent Jackson with 7 seconds left in the game. Here's Tomlin and Smith on what happened.
The bottom line is we're an undisciplined group. We're too highly penalized. Obviously, we're not coaching it, but we're allowing it to happen, so I take responsibility for that. We're not going to win close football games penalized in the manner in which we've been penalized over the first month of the season. It's unacceptable. It's inexcusable.
Long time coming. You know, last week, of course, we were embarrassed by our play. Asked the football team to just kind of look at the man in the mirror, you know, make the necessary corrections. If we did that, all is well.
All right, it was Lovie Smith's first victory with Tampa Bay. Frustrated Mike Tomlin called his team undisciplined. How much trouble are the Steelers in, Stephen A?
Well, I think the Steelers are in trouble for a couple of reasons. Number one, Skip, Cincinnati has better talent. The Baltimore Ravens are coming. They appear to have better talent. They're tougher, and they appear to be more disciplined. Number two, first item was that both teams appear to be better than the Steelers. Secondly, and more importantly, they do appear to be very undisciplined. The league average was 20.7 penalties for about 180 yards. The Steelers came into the game as the second worst in the league behind San Francisco with 31 penalties, Skip, for 262 yards entering yesterday.
You're talking about through the first
three games. And then yesterday they were 13 penalties for 125. Let's look at this, Skip. Let's go down.
Put them on the bottom?
Let's go down and look at this. Antonio Brown. Yep. This dude has emerged as a star in this league. But you're going to get in a penalty in the first quarter for excessive celebration. You ever heard Antonio Brown? He's a friend of the show. We know this. Have you ever heard about acting like you've been there before? Mm-hmm. Going into the end zone, making sure that you don't get there and get penalized because you got to dance and do all of this other stuff. So you got a penalty for that. You got 10 pre or post snap penalties. You got Le'Veon Bell. You get a 16-yard run, okay? And you get cited for taunting. Now, we appreciate the job that you did against Carolina, but just remember, just a few weeks ago, we were talking about how your behind was sitting there getting busted for weed, okay? So you shouldn't want to bring more attention to yourself, you think? Okay? You got Karen Haywood. He's got an unsportsmanlike conduct. You got DeCastro and Gilbert. They had false start penalties. You got Polamalu and these guys. They're getting. I'm just looking at some of this stuff, man, and I'm like, false start penalties, offside penalties, Haywood Bay, Troy Polamalu, Arthur Moats. I mean, the list just goes on. And I'm thinking along these lines, Skip. It's a bad reflection on Coach Tomlin.
Thank you.
Because here's the reality. I don't believe the Colbert, the general manager, has gotten Tomlin, okay? Yeah. Or anybody else, whether it's LeBeau, all right? It doesn't matter. You haven't gotten them enough talent to work with. But when these kind of things happen, that's coaching. And for Tomlin to be in this, you know, he's my favorite. Not the best, but he's one of my favorites, and I think he's pretty damn good. But these guys are not taking the time to look at the fact that this is making Coach Mike Tomlin look bad, because it speaks to discipline. And when you are on the field and you don't know how to act, it is a direct reflection on your coach, because you think about the great coaches in the game, past and present. You think about a Belichick. You think about a Bill Parcells. I remember, you know, when Bill Parcells was mic'd and they're showing the football life and all this other stuff, and guys walk over to the sideline and Bill Parcells is like, you must really want to be out this league. That's what you're trying to do. You're trying to find yourself back in Canada or something. You're just talking smack. Do it again. Yeah. Nod your head. Do it again. Do it. You just listen to these guys and you're saying they understand that there is a level of accountability that is going to come your way. And when you consider how these guys have acted off the field, and you combine that with how they're being penalized on the field, it speaks to an absence of discipline where, fair or not, The person whose head is going to be on that proverbial guillotine is going to be Mike Tomlin.
Yep.
So they better get their act together. Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell, Cameron Hayward, DeCastro, Gilbert, Polamalu, Hayward Bay. They better get their act together because they may end up costing this man his job just because they don't know how to damn act like they've got some sense.
Okay, but let's be fair. As many times as I've said how much I respect Mike Tomlin on this show, you got to hold him accountable.
Of course
too.
I am.
I know. I mean, you can't blame it all on the players. Have we reached the point where Mike Tomlin, who is known as a player's coach, is too close to his players? Is his voice starting to ring hollow in the locker room? Is he losing his fear factor when he stands before his team and says, I will hold all you accountable? Are they thinking to themselves, not really? You know, you really haven't been doing that, Coach.
Yeah.
So are they getting away with more because they think they can get away with more? Are they playing undisciplined football because they know they won't really be held with feet to fire? It's starting to appear that way. Okay, go ahead.
I'm going to say something that's relatively uncomfortable, but you're the person to tell us to. On far too many occasions, particularly when there are African Americans in leadership positions, young African Americans don't appreciate that enough. They use it as a manner in which to take advantage, which is a problem that has to be resolved. That's right, I said it. I'm not stuttering with this. I'm telling you that on not every occasion, but on far too many occasions, you've got young men, young black men, that sit there and look at black executives and don't respect them as nearly as much as they should. I'm talking about when it's earned, because I don't mean to imply that Mike Tomlin does not respect it. That's not where I'm going. What I am saying is that on far too many occasions, and it ain't just in sports, it's in corporate America as a whole, there's a level of appreciation that youngsters are supposed to have for elders in positions of authority that sometimes we drop the ball on, and we put African Americans in positions of power in very compromising positions because we don't respect and appreciate what they bring to the table and how hard it was for them to get to that level as much as we should. I believe to some degree that there are coaches that has happened to in the NFL as well as the NBA that I have covered for 20 years, and it is not fair to those coaches in leadership positions who went through the trials and tribulations, who worked their way up, who have honored themselves in our community and beyond in every appropriate fashion imaginable. But you got youngsters who are too ignorant to appreciate history, what they had to go through to get to that position, and respect them accordingly. You are supposed to go all out for them just like you would do anybody else. And when that doesn't happen, it causes problems. Okay. And it needs to be said.
I appreciate that. On the other side of the ball, quick note. I respect that Lovie Smith was able to pick his team psychologically up off the mat that I'm not sure they could get up off of, because that was as humiliating a loss in a primetime game in Atlanta as you will ever see. And they got back up off the mat and won a game at Pittsburgh. That shows respect for that head coach.
Well, listen, it shows incredible respect for Lovie Smith, who deserves that respect, because I might have thought that he should have been going from Chicago, but I never said he shouldn't have been a head coach, okay? So he deserves that respect. I believe Mike Tomlin will accomplish the same thing, but I'm speaking to the fact that it's wrong that they even have to find themselves in that position. That's what I'm saying.
All right, last thought. Okay. Todd Haley is under fire. Obviously, it's 3rd and 5 to kill the clock, right? The last Steeler possession. And he runs Le'Veon again up the middle and loses 2 yards. I would have let Ben throw the football and try to kill the clock with the first down. But be that as it may, I'm sure they're thinking on the sidelines, Mike Glennon, second-year quarterback from NC State. I don't love Mike Glennon. And do I think that Mike Glennon can go in 40 seconds, what was it, 54 yards and score a touchdown on my defense? I didn't think that. I watched it, and I was shocked by this because, first of all, they punt, and the punter misses the ball, and it goes 29 yards. So you're already in trouble, and they get it 1st and 10 at the Pittsburgh 46. I'm sorry, it was 46 yards that they had to go for a touchdown. and Mike Glennon does that to you, well, that's on the defense.
So
you know,
is that on Todd Haley? You're mad at Haley at all?
Okay, to me, I get that they were just trying to play conservative on third down, and just punt it.
Yeah. I'm holding it against
I would
them.
let Ben have the ball in his hands.
Well, listen, you got to let Ben throw the football.
I would
if he's
too.
your franchise player,
I agree.
Let him come to the rescue and get you a first down so you don't put the defense in a position where they find themselves having to defend that, because I don't trust the Steelers defense like that, especially with Jarvis Jones and Shazier out and all of that. No, I don't trust them. And Ike Taylor, too. Yep. No, I'm going to ride with Ben.
Okay. So you like Snoop. Fire Haley?
Excuse me?
You like
no,
Snoop?
I'm not saying fire him, but I'm just saying it was not. I didn't like it.
All right.
I didn't like it. They're in some trouble now.
Now it's time for a final take, ladies and gentlemen. We'll start with tonight's Monday night matchup. The Patriots head to Kansas City. Tom Brady and the Pats passing game under the microscope. So we asked the question, who wins tonight? Stephen A.
I'm going with New England and Tom Brady. Their offense has been quite suspect. Kansas City is going to be riled up. That crowd is going to be hyped, no doubt. And I understand they got the 31st ranked, the second worst passing attack in the NFL. But I don't think that lasts long. We're talking about Tom Brady here. It's Monday Night Football. I'm rolling with Tom Brady and the New England Patriots. About 27-21.
Ooh, I'm almost on your same score. I'm rolling to 27-23, even though this is a tough place to play, especially at night. But on defense, they're down Derek Johnson and Eric Berry and Vito. And I think it's got to be go time for New England tonight. I know they think they have to win because Cincinnati is up next at Foxborough. So this is one you can't blow. So pretty close, but I think they hang in and win it.
The Vikings beat the Falcons 41-28. Teddy Bridgewater passed for 317 yards and a key two-point conversion, but left Sunday's game in the fourth, sprained left ankle. Well, let's talk about what he did do while he was there. Stephen A. Impressed?
It was very, very impressive. Threw for over 300 yards, ran the football effectively, picked his spots, remained incredibly poised. The players were calling him very, very calm in the huddle. And remember, he's got Cordero Patterson and Jenkins to throw the ball to, so that's definitely a plus for him. I think that Minnesota may indeed have found themselves a quarterback.
I hope you're right about that. I'm not sold on that for long term, but you want to talk about what he has as an advantage. Norv Turner is his offensive coordinator and his mentor and guru, and that's a good guy to have teaching you. I thought he was shockingly great yesterday for getting thrown into the fire like that.
Yeah, very poised.
Let's see if it can continue.
Yeah. According to our Adam Schefter, when Ndamukong Suh becomes a free agent in March, he will be interested in playing in New York. Stephen A., your reaction?
I love it. I think there's one or two places he should end up going to, Skip Bayless. Either the New York Jets, join Muhammad Wilkinson and Sheldon Richardson. Obviously, I don't know what you got to do moving one of them, but I would love the three of them on the same defensive line together. Or go to the Dallas Cowboys. Why not? Go to Jerry World. Go to the $1 billion play pit.
I like it.
It doesn't bother me.
Come on now.
But he's in Ndamukong Suh.
How about right now?
And by the way,
the
Lions, for the Lions to call off contract talks prior to the season, I don't blame him if he's looking to move.
You know, it's such a weird dynamic. He's never loved playing in Detroit, yet Lions fans have never loved how disappointing he has been from the start for them. So it's been a bad fit right away.
All right, the Texans are 3-1 now after beating the Bills this weekend. J.J. Watt with the interception, 80-yard touchdown. Are you buying the Texans, Stephen?
Not yet, but only because I'm not buying their offense. Defensively, I knew that they would be better. But Ryan Fitzpatrick is still their quarterback. I'm not sold on it. Arian Foster, obviously his health, and along with Andre Johnson, got to see what they bring to the table. But their defense appears to have improved, and I am a fan of Bill O'Brien. So I do believe that they'll be respectable.
I am giving them no bulletin board material for next Sunday because you know where they play at Jerry World. 3-1 versus 3-1. I think they are great. I think they're the best team in the NFL right now. They're to be feared, to be reckoned with.
Skip timid.
Skip timid, huh?
Oh, Skip smart.
You coming on my show today?
What show is
Stephen A. Smith, Sirius XM, Mad Dog Sports Radio, 1 to 3. Skip Bayless.